Right now, as you are watching this video, the global economy is experiencing the most dramatic power shift in over 50 years. And most people have no idea it's happening. Here is what everyone believes. The United States and its Western allies control the world's financial system. The dollar is king. The G7 nations set the rules. But here is the shocking reality. BRICS just flipped the global economy, and they have done this so quietly that mainstream media barely cover the most important details. The headlines are buzzing, the power dynamics are changing, and for the first time in decades, the conversation about who controls the world's financial levers is truly global. I'm about to show you the exact strategies, the staggering numbers, and the concrete actions that prove something unprecedented is happening. We will share info that BRICS' biggest fans will probably already know, but we will also throw in some surprises that you won't find in typical media outlets. Let's start with the story that changes everything. BRICS recently convened in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, under a powerful banner, shaping a more fair, more multipolar world, one less dominated by Western influence. This wasn't just talk. It was backed by concrete actions and a rapidly growing alliance of nations. For years, BRICS was known as a five-member group: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But that's rapidly changing. With new members like Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, United Arab Emirates, and Indonesia, BRICS is now a 10-member group plus 9 additional partners. Many more countries are showing interest in joining. This expansion isn't just about numbers. It significantly strengthens the group's internal solidarity and global standing. Brazilian Foreign Minister Mauro Vieira, during a lengthy interview with Al Jazeera TV immediately after the conclusion of the BRICS summit in Rio, emphasized that BRICS should not be seen as a challenge to anyone. Rather, it's a group of developing countries focused on promoting development, cooperation, and political consultation. However, the very act of expansion has led some to perceive it as an increasingly anti-Western. From the Brazil perspective, though, the goal is multilateralism, a commitment Brazil strongly upholds as a means to counter trade wars and protect the interests of developing nations. This isn't just a platform for dialogue. It's a force to be reckoned with. Consider these staggering figures. BRICS, even before its latest expansion, represented nearly 40% of the world's population and 35% of global GDP. With its current membership, its GDP has reached a whopping $63.2 trillion, surpassing the G7's $52.3 trillion. The bloc contributes 40% of global manufacturing output and a significant share of key agricultural products, 42% of world wheat, 52% of rice, and 46% of soybean. The International Monetary Fund forecasts that the world economy is set to rely more on BRICS to drive growth over the next 5 years. China alone will contribute an impressive 22% of global growth, more than all G7 countries combined. The appeal of BRICS is undeniable. Ali Ali, managing director of the news agency of Nigeria, highlights that Nigeria views joining BRICS as a natural fit, aligning with its shared goals and values. For Nigeria, it's about reducing dependence on the US-centric international system and promoting a multipolar world, positioning itself as an emerging global power. Just as a reminder, Nigeria is a BRICS partner country since 2025, the most populated country in Africa and one of the world's biggest oil producers. One of the most significant ways BRICS is reshaping the global economy is through its concerted efforts to de-dollarize world finances and establish a new global trade system. Foreign Minister Vieira also explained to the Al Jazeera journalist that Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has been a vocal proponent of a new global trade currency. While a completely new global currency might be a long-term aspiration, the immediate focus is on a system of paying bilateral commerce in local currencies. Brazil, in particular, he also said, has already had a 2-decade-long agreement with Argentina for this. Similar arrangements exist across Latin America through the Latin America Integration Association, which has allowed trade payments in local currencies since the 1970s. This system, acting as a kind of clearinghouse, significantly saves costs and taxes and makes transactions more fluid and rapid. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov confirms that a gradual pivot away from the dollar is now unstoppable. This trend is supported by statistics showing that dollars changing share in world trade. Lavrov asserts that countries are moving away from the dollar not by choice, but because the US has used the dollar to punish countries whose behavior it deems inconsistent with its infamous rules. This highlights a core motivation for BRICS members to seek alternative payment methods, insulating themselves from what they see as Washington's abuses. The New Development Bank, or BRICS Bank, is a key part of this new financial system. Its mission to support growth in developing nations without the string attached like the World Bank or the IMF. So far, it has approved 45 billion in loans. These loans target infrastructure, health, and education. While smaller than the World Bank, it is expanding fast. Algeria, Indonesia, and Colombia just joined, signaling its rise. The group is also pushing for a BRICS payment system that would use local currencies and reduce sanction risks. Before we dive into more original news, let's shine a light on this crucial information that mainstream media often overlooks. As always, we invite you to like, share this video, and leave a hi or emoji in the comments. Together, we can spread these insights and raise awareness about our global economy. Let's be change makers who inspire understanding. Here is a news story that will grab your attention. Russia, the world's second largest gold producer, is taking a direct swing at Western financial dominance. The country is preparing to launch its own gold trading platform on the St. Petersburg exchange. The aim is clear: to escape price dependency on the London Stock Exchange and assert national control over one of its key resources. This strategic move is part of Russia's broader push for financial autonomy, challenging dollar dominance by passing sanctions and reshaping global commodity markets in its favor. It directly signals a growing multipolar world where raw materials and price control are national weapons. The rise of BRICS has not gone unnoticed in Washington, leading to a sort of hybrid war by the Trump administration, made by trade war, interferences in the internal politics of some BRICS countries, and even outright military conflicts. President Trump has explicitly stated at the beginning of this year that any country or group attempting to challenge the hegemony of the US dollar would face 100% tariff increases and be blocked from trading with the United States. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov pointed out just recently that while Trump previously held a different view on the dollar's damage by Biden's policies, there are now specific threats from Washington against BRICS, viewing the bloc as undermining US interests. Despite this, Beijing's University of International Business and Economics professor Dr. John Gong believes the proposed Sanctioning Russia Act of 2025, which would slap from 100 to 500% secondary tariffs on BRICS nations, is likely to remain an empty threat, as it hasn't even passed the Senate. Professor Alexis Habia-Remy from the University of Johannesburg echoes this, stating that Trump has very limited leverage and that the US's economic war against its foes and associates is proving to be a self-defeating strategy. What this means for individual BRICS members shows the real weight of these economic battles. From Brazil, President Lula said he's not afraid. He believes Brazil will find other paths forward. India is sticking to its long-standing position of neutrality. The country remains open to talks with the United States. Now South Africa is moving fast. Like India, it's in urgent talks with the United States to stop a 30% tariff on exports set to start on August the 1st. President Cyril Ramaphosa confirmed that diplomacy is already in motion. Even the news of the tariffs has hit exports hard. Some South African companies have seen drops as steep as 80%. These tariffs could scare off investors and speed up capital flight. That's a big blow, especially as South Africa works to grow its industry. Take car exports to the US, down nearly 82% in the first half of the year. The African Growth and Opportunity Act once gave duty-free access. Now it's effectively gone for many goods like macadamia nuts, cars, auto parts, citrus, and wine. Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago gave a sharp warning. He says these tariffs could put 100,000 jobs on the line. Meanwhile, in the tech world and on the Chinese side of the trade war, a fascinating reversal demonstrates the intertwined nature of global trade. Just 3 months after shutting down NVIDIA's artificial intelligence chip sales to China, the Trump administration has reversed course. NVIDIA announced that the US government has approved sales of a China-specific AI chip, the H20, and has assured the company that licenses will be granted. This decision came after NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang met with President Trump, having spent months lobbying politicians in Washington to keep the China market open for AI chip sales. China represents potentially billions of dollars in sales for NVIDIA, the world's most valuable public company, and is home to 50% of the world's AI developers, spending more on chips than any other market. Huang fears that exiting the Chinese market would allow local tech giants like Huawei to increase sales and eventually compete globally against NVIDIA. Advanced Micro Devices has also received approval to restart sales of its AI chip for China. This reversal, however, could face pushback on Capitol Hill, where investigations into NVIDIA's sales to China have been ongoing. NVIDIA's CEO Huang has a more optimistic view of US-China relations, stating that China is a competitor and adversary, not our enemy. This complex dance underscores the immense economic leverage China holds, even amidst geopolitical tensions. News are not only related to the BRICS founder countries. Things are moving also with the new member states. Iran, a new BRICS member, presents a compelling case study in resilience. Despite continued US sanctions on its oil exports, the Iranian economy expanded by 3.1% in the calendar year to late March, with its gross domestic product exceeding $301 billion. The non-oil sector grew by 3%, and the oil and gas sector was the best performer at 4.6%. This consistent growth since mid-2020 is attributed to rising oil exports and a robust economic diversification program. Iran's inclusion brings a developed country with a highly educated population and significant contributions to BRICS discussions. Meanwhile, In the Middle East and Southeast Asia, the BRICS influence is fostering strong bilateral ties. Saudi Arabia and Indonesia recently signed several deals and memorandums of understanding worth around $27 billion. These agreements span clean energy, petrochemicals, crude oil supply chains, and mineral resources, building on their already significant trade of $31.5 billion over the last 5 years. This demonstrates robust South-South cooperation. Similarly, Turkey and the United Arab Emirates have deepened their strategic partnership by signing 7 bilateral agreements in Ankara. These agreements cover diverse sectors including defense, investment, technology, energy, tourism, food security, pharmaceuticals, industrial production, agriculture, and even polar research. The goal is ambitious: to exceed $20 billion in trade this year and reach $40 billion in the medium term. The Global South isn't afraid anymore. It's not following Western standards anymore and is creating its own. BRICS shows that emerging countries can build alternative systems that work. It won't be simple, but it's already moving full speed ahead, no matter what anyone says. Thanks for watching.